Yeah, we're recording. All right, awesome. So we are here with Paul Thomas. So Paul, thank you so much for agreeing to meet with me here.
You're very welcome.
Great. Well, I want to uh, head back. I know it's been a while since you went through the Toolbox program, but I really want to get just a glimpse of your story and hear a little bit about, starting with what you do and, what was life like before you went through the program. Take us back to that time if you can.
Okay. Um, well, prior to doing the program, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist based in Sydney, Australia, and I'm a new hypnotherapist. So before I did the program, I didn't have a website. I'd just done my training, just completed my training, and really was knowing I needed to do a website. So really, that was where I was. Now, I suppose, a little bit of an advantage that I'm quite technically minded. I mean, my day job at that time, and actually still is part-time, a software trainer. So I do have reasonably good technical skills. I'm not very good at art or any kind of design type skills. I've never really been that interested in that. I had created a very simple blog website before using WordPress. So I did have a little bit of experience. And I did think about whether I could use that experience to create my own therapy website. But I also wasn't quite sure what the structure should be and those kind of things. So although technically I possibly could have done some of it, really knowing about how to write the content and the right kind of design, layout, color scheme, those kind of things, I really didn't know. And so I was either planning to get someone else to do it, which I think in Australia would cost about 800 Aussie dollars. It's probably about 650 US dollars, or do it myself. And so one day I just Googled, I can't remember exactly what I Googled actually, but you did come up on page one. So it must have been something like create therapy website or something like that. Maybe it was a question, something like that. And yours came up. And so I saw the program and I thought, this is a good investment. This is going to give me a step-by-step process that I can follow.
Right. And at that time, so were you seeing clients at that time, or was this all like you were just really, really getting off the ground?
Yeah, this was before I was seeing clients. So at this point, I had no website. So I'd completed my training, and I knew the next step was there was a few things I needed to do: create my website, find a consulting room, sort out business bank accounts. I had a list of quite a few different things I needed to do. But the website was pretty high up on that list. And, and I had sort of already decided that the method of attracting people was going to be online. I wasn't particularly going to do some of the other things that people recommend, like going to doctors and talking to doctors or doing leaflet and those kind of offline things. I wasn't really that interested in those.
Why was that? Like, how come you knew that you wanted to stick to online? Is that, well, I'll let you answer the question.
Well, I suppose it was, to me, I think it seemed more time efficient. Because I could be at home, I could be doing all this. Driving around, visiting lots of people, and actually the whole process of maybe going and talking to other professionals and maybe trying to sell my services and get them to then refer people when they don't really know me. I just didn't feel very comfortable about doing that.
Right.
So, and I suppose, again, it kind of, I knew a little bit about the internet. I was using the internet a lot myself anyway. Actually, before I started my hypnotherapy business, I found, like, I worked with naturopaths, I worked with chiropractors, osteopaths and acupuncturists, all those kind of things for the last 4 or 5 years. And I think generally I found them online, and increasingly now using video as well. So I could go to their website, see a video of them, and that would often help me decide, oh yeah, I like that person, I'd like to work with that person.
Right. So you wanted to emulate that and go that route with your own website.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, what was it like going through the program, working through an online course like this to build your website?
I think it was pretty easy, actually. I mean, I enjoyed the learning part. I remember it being very step by step, and that was something that I really appreciated because, I possibly could have found some of the information elsewhere, but it wouldn't have been structured. It wouldn't have been step by step. I certainly found it very easy. I think the sort of the pace was just right for me. Wasn't too slow, wasn't too fast. The content level was just right as well. You know, it wasn't overwhelming. And I think that's a danger that a lot of other people sometimes do, is they make things sound too complicated. And you seem to be able to keep it really, really simple, which I liked. And and I think I remember, because it's been a little while now, so I'm trying to remember. But I think you had this one-page kind of checklist, I think.
Yeah.
So I mean,
the roadmap.
The roadmap. That's
checklist. Yeah.
And I have to admit, I haven't completely finished that yet, because I've not actually done anything with social media yet. So that last little step,
right,
where you actually start using Buffer and social media, I've not done that yet. So I'm still technically a student still. So
well, that's great. Get back in there.
But it was great going and ticking them off, actually, and as you did. So I really enjoyed having that checklist. And and the videos were great, because I was seeing your screen and I could follow along, and that was really good as well. So I enjoyed that side of it.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, that's been, that was really the heart behind why I created the program in the first place, was that people get so overwhelmed because there are a lot of steps. So it was really a fun process for me to create it, because I was able to put together, like, okay, this is the process that I go through, and share that with other people. And like, you get your checklist, you knock off the stuff as you move forward. So kudos to you for being a great student and really taking advantage of all the the resources that are in there to keep you moving
exactly forward. Yeah, it was great. And I mean, the bit that really stuck out was the about page, because I would have never have guessed that the about page was so important. And and I would have probably written a very, very simple one, which would have been all about me. And, and so instead I put a lot of effort into the about page. I might just bring it up now, actually, and just have a look.
Yeah, I remember when you were going through that, and you were seeking feedback in the Facebook group, and you definitely put in a lot of work. What do you think was the most important element for that page?
I'm just having a look at it now, actually. So I definitely had it being more geared about them. So although I was talking a bit about me, it was more about me in the context of how I can help them. So I started up with the heading, does this sound like you? So you're getting them sort of building that rapport there, and then a little bit about me, and the usual sort of stuff around my qualifications. But I sort of didn't cover that in too much detail, and a little bit about my background and why I work with me. But and a nice picture on there as well. I was planning to do a video for that page and never quite got around to doing it, but I still could add that later. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So that was good. So that was definitely something I wouldn't have probably given much attention to otherwise. So
right.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, what was how long did it take you to build your website when going through the program?
I think I got the program about September 2016, I think it was. And the website was up and running I know I started seeing clients in March. But I think I'd finished it earlier than that. I think I'd finished it more or less by January. So it probably took three months or so. And probably a lot of that was, and when I say finished, it was at a stage where, it could be viewable by the public.
Right.
I had probably 4 or 5 pages of common issues that I help people with. So I'd written a page for anxiety and weight loss and maybe insomnia. I know at the time I hadn't written a quit smoking page, for instance. So that was obviously a big thing that people come to see a hypnotherapist for, is that. But I hadn't written that page when I went live. So what I then did was, as I sort of would commit to writing a couple of new pages a month, usually. Yeah. And I think now I've got, probably about 20, 25, what I call treatment or services pages. So
those specialty pages.
So that's that sort of thing. So I've still actually got 3 more to write.
Okay.
So I'm still, I haven't actually written any for about 6 months because I've been quite busy as a therapist, so I've not felt much of a need. But probably a month, or I might write another one because it's a little bit quieter. But I suppose the good message is you don't have to have everything on your website to start.
Right.
So I think, I had the home page and everything was all looking nice, the about page, the fees page, the locations, and then the other pages just started to develop after that.
Yeah, that's great, and that's a really good point, because I know a lot of people get really hung up on, is my website finished? Can I put it out there? They're afraid to put it out there, afraid to hit
Right, yeah.
hit publish and send people there. But what I always say to that is, if it's not out there, then nobody can find it. Your website is so important to get you traffic and get you clients. So if you put nothing out there because you're waiting for it to be perfect or complete, then you're missing out on those clients. So
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's also worth knowing as well that, it takes a little bit of time for Google to index your pages anyway.
yeah,
So the sooner you get something out there, the
yeah,
sooner it can start to find it. So.
yeah. Awesome. Well, take us into the period after you put your website out there and you started to get some momentum. What's changed in your business after you launched your website?
Okay, all right. Well, when I first launched my website, I knew that it wasn't going to rank very high in Google because there was no traffic going to it. So I did, at that stage, run some Google AdWords. So I did some separate training on that to learn that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did. So I ran AdWords for, I think 2 or 3 months. I think I ran AdWords. And first 6 weeks went really well. And it got quite a few new clients, made a profit. And then I think the next month, some things went a bit wrong and made a loss. I think I tried to grow too fast. I did things like I booked a room for a whole day. So I then had higher fixed costs. And then I had a few people who didn't show up. So I lost a bit of money then. And so I basically got to about the end of May and I had to have a bit of a rethink. So I turned off all the ads. I went back to just booking rooms when I needed them, okay,
Yeah.
and decided and just took a break for 2 or 3 weeks. And what was interesting is when I took a break, I was still getting the occasional inquiry. Not as many as I was when I had the ads running, but I was still getting some inquiries. So I learned
Yeah.
2 things from that. I learned, one, that my Google ads weren't as profitable as I thought they were because some of those people had not actually clicked on an ad anyway.
Right.
And the second thing I found is actually potentially I can do this. I am getting some organic traffic.
Yeah.
I think at that point
Great.
I must have, yeah, that was great. I was really, because that was probably within 3 months. So that was really good. Yeah, the other thing I did at that point was I decided to start taking a deposit for people for when they come for their first session. So I used Stripe for that. So that was very easy to set up. And I don't know whether you have anything like that in the course at the moment, but it might be something, consider adding in the future if people want to, whether they're selling a deposit or they want to sell some kind of MP3 recordings or whatever it is.
Right.
Really easy to set that up. So now people pay a deposit online before the first session. And what's been really good about that is I very, very rarely get a no-show now.
Yeah.
The first client, highly unusual. And I usually find after somebody's had one session, they're usually pretty good at coming back for follow-up sessions. So they rarely no-show. They might occasionally decide that they don't want to continue and they'll let me know, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So that was good. And then I decided, I then went on holiday for a month in September. So obviously had no ads running at that time. And I got 3 inquiries while I was on holiday. I came back in October, always planning to put the Google ads back on. So hadn't run ads since I think probably the end of April. So for 3 or 4 months. Came back in October and I seemed to be getting enough inquiries that I didn't really need to run the ads. So at that point and at that point I was working, because I still work part-time in a conventional job. So at that point I was now had 2, possibly 3 hypnotherapy days. And I was getting enough clients to keep me busy enough.
Yeah.
When I say busy enough, still being quite new, I often find if I get someone coming for something that's not something that's run-of-the-mill, that I'm still need to do a bit of research, a bit of learning myself. So I've sort of been keeping to typically not going over about 4 sessions a day, really. So that's enough for
That's
that.
great. I mean, it sounds like you really were learning throughout the whole process, you know, and
Yeah, exactly.
testing,
Yeah.
you know, what works,
Yeah.
what doesn't work,
Yeah.
where do I put my money, you know, not even
Mm.
just on the website, but also booking your rooms, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's all related. And so what I love what you did there was really you paid attention to all the different things that were going on, testing different things to make sure
Yeah.
that you're moving forward and at a pace that works for you. That's fantastic.
Exactly. And I think what's been lovely is pretty much the whole of 2018. And I've not spent anything on advertising in 2018 at all. It's all just been organic.
That's fantastic.
The investment has been more in time.
Yeah.
Um, you know. So maybe if you just talk to you a little bit about the kind of the SEO side of things then. So
Yeah, I want to hear more
um,
about what you've
yeah,
been working on, and because I know the last time when we started talking again, it sounds like you've been ranking really well, and so
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
want to hear more about what you've done to do that, and hopefully some people can really uh, get some insight on that for their own websites.
Yeah, sure. So I think a few different things. So the first thing I considered was obviously my location. So I'm based in North Sydney. Okay, so North Sydney is a reasonably busy CBD type area. I'd say there's probably, I'm guessing probably maybe 500,000 people work in that area. Maybe that's, I don't
Hmm.
know, maybe less than that. Probably between a quarter and 500,000. I think people work there. It's a reasonable size, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but there's not very many other hypnotherapists in North Sydney. So at some point, although this was a bit of maybe a fluke, I picked North Sydney because I live close to North Sydney. I can walk to the clinic. But interestingly, there's not a lot of other competition. Okay.
Mhm.
So I found fairly quickly that North Sydney hypnotherapy ranked well in Google. And I think for the last year, it's actually been number one in Google. So for the keyword North Sydney hypnotherapy and North Sydney hypnotherapist. So some of the things that I did to make that happen, and I think these were all covered in the course, I'm just checking now, is use that keyword quite a bit on the homepage.
Mhm.
So North Sydney hypnotherapy, North Sydney hypnotherapist. And on the treatment pages, so the pages for things like stop smoking, anxiety, weight loss, insomnia, a few things I did, I found, and I can't remember whether I learned this from you or someone else, is that Google seems to like longer content. So whilst most of my competitors would be writing maybe 150, 200 words on how they can help someone with anxiety, I
Yeah.
was writing more like 1,000 words. So
Yeah.
they're almost like blog posts.
Right.
They're, rather than being a post, they're actually a page on my website.
Yeah. Right.
And I sort of followed, I had a little bit of a formula I sort of followed, which was kind of, um, I suppose, helping the person kind of understand that I understand what they're going through, and then
Mhm.
talking a bit about how I can help them and what the solution might be.
Yeah.
And then a little bit about why work with me and that sort of thing. And then really moving on to a fairly standard ending call to action, how many
Yeah.
sessions you need,
Mhm.
that sort of thing. And then I would finish every page with the words clinical hypnotherapist. And then below that, I'd have North Sydney area.
Mm.
So there's 20, 25 pages that all have the word North Sydney in them.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing I did, which was slightly, I say could be slightly cheeky, maybe, is I would put specialist in, and then whatever it was. So it's specialist in anxiety hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
Okay. So it would then rank for the word anxiety hypnotherapy, and specialist just made it seem like, I'm the one who knows about anxiety. So
Yeah. It gives that authority.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. And I suppose it's a little cheeky because people would probably normally land on that page, so anxiety hypnotherapy.
Mhm.
They might go and see some of my other pages, but probably they're more likely to then go to maybe the fees page or the locations page,
Yeah.
or maybe the home page. So that
Mhm.
kind
Absolutely.
of
That's just super smart. You're a model student to me. Just like listening to hearing you describe the pages and just the formula,
Yeah.
that's all kind of
Thank
there
you.
in the program, and that's how you can grab your visitor, especially coming from Google, because you're connecting with them, and then you're leading them to say like, this is how I can help you. So kudos
Yeah.
kudos to you for taking the time to create that content. And I think that
Yeah.
it does take a lot of time, but I think as you could see, the payoff is great. That you said you're ranking #1 for those keywords.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for depends on the keyword. For North Sydney hypnotherapy and North Sydney hypnotherapist, I'm ranking on the top of page 1.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened last year, which I didn't really expect, well, I was expecting it would happen at some point, but probably not quite so quickly, was I started ranking on page 1 for Sydney hypnotherapy and
Uh-huh.
Sydney hypnotherapist, which is a game changer really, because now this is the whole of Sydney, which is
Yeah.
4 million people.
Wow.
And so I've been pretty consistently sort of usually about number 5 or number 6 on that list. Tends to vary a bit. Sometimes I'll drop down to page 2.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's been just the consistent content, the quality of the content. I think Google is seeing that people are staying on my website.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's helping. But also, things that you taught in the course, the Yoast SEO plugin, so
Mm-hmm.
using that to its full potential.
Yeah.
Things like making sure that the keyword is in images, making sure there are good images as well. On some of the pages, like the anxiety page, excuse me, I also did a video. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to clear my throat, so you might want to take this bit out. So
Yeah. No problem.
sorry about that. So for 3 of my treatment pages, so the anxiety page being one, I actually recorded a video as well,
That's
and then
great.
embedded that. So put the video on YouTube, and then embedded that video into the blog, into the page as well.
Yeah.
And this year, I'm probably going to do a lot more of that because video seems to be becoming more and more popular now.
Yeah. That's
So that's the plan.
super smart. It sounds like you've got some really great, resource landing pages for people coming from Google, that are working really well, and you got
Yeah,
all the necessary information in there to make those pages really valuable. Not just a paragraph or two, but really pages that are going to really help people, which is
exactly.
why they're doing so well. And sounds like your website's converting well and really bringing people to your business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think another thing really great about having really good content on your website is that people almost make the decision before they phone you or email you. So I
Mm.
would say 70% of my inquiries, they've already made a decision to book. And it's literally,
Yeah.
I want to book an appointment.
Right.
When are you available? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll probably get to a point when I am busy enough to have my own consulting room where I can have an online booking system. But at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
as I need to check with the clinic, I can't really do that. But eventually I can do that. But that's great. So it's great when you don't have to talk too much on the phone for many people. So I do like
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely. Well, as we're coming to a close here, I want to know what's on the agenda for this year for your business and for your website. What are you working on?
Yeah, that's a good question. And before I answer that, I just wanted to say one other thing actually
Yeah.
about the Create My Therapist Toolkit course. Actually, was that one thing that really helped me was with the one-on-one session we did towards the end.
Yeah.
Remember? And I remember
Yeah.
there was quite a lot of things that you said about the homepage, that you gave me a lot of feedback on white space and just the design of the homepage, which was really, really useful. And they were the sort of areas where, I just don't have the art and the design skills to get that sort of thing right. So I really appreciated your one input on just getting it looking nice, not too busy, and that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably my favorite part of doing this is I'm a designer by trade, and so I've got that eye, and so I love to bring that to people's
Yeah,
websites and just pick up things that you're not picking up, but because I do this for a living, I notice things you might not notice, and
exactly.
I think a lot of therapists are in the same camp as you are, that they aren't very artistic, or they don't understand how to organize the information in such a way that makes it really easy to digest. So
Yeah.
that's my favorite part about, working with students like yourself, is to be able to jump in and say, okay, these are the things that I would do on your homepage. Let's give this more space, all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was really invaluable in the Facebook group as well, because
Mm.
when you're going through a course, there's sometimes you're not sure if you've done the right thing or not, and the course can't always tell you that. But when you can
Yeah.
have a session with yourself, or even the Facebook group, you can get other
Right.
people's opinion, and that's really valuable as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so my website in 2019.
Yeah.
So,
What are you up to?
well, because I've been actually reasonably busy with clients, I haven't done a lot on my website for the last few months. But I'm conscious that Google likes to see websites being regularly updated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's important. I think if I do nothing, my rankings will start to drop over time. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's important. Well, first off, to create the remaining 3 treatment pages. Actually, just a little side, one of the things that's been interesting about writing these pages is that some of the ones that I hadn't expected to rank have done really well. Like I wrote a page for hypnotherapy for children.
Oh, wow.
About 9 months ago, and then 4 months ago I started getting an unusually large number of inquiries for help with children.
Wow.
Which actually took me out of my comfort zone, because I don't have kids myself, so I didn't feel that confident, but I had done some training on that, so that was great. And so now I'm becoming a bit of a specialist now for helping children, and I'm starting to enjoy it now. I'm confident with it. I'm more comfortable with them now, so that's the sort of little surprise sort of things that can happen. So
Yeah.
good. And so finish those pages, and then I haven't actually started blogging any blog posts yet, so that will be my next step. Probably incorporating videos in them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I'll then start doing some things on social media, because once I've got some posts, I'll then start promoting those on Facebook,
Yeah.
and Twitter, and maybe a few other places. So, but I think one thing I'm very proud of is that I've been able to do this without using any social media, because I know a lot of other people say, you've got to do all this stuff on social media, you've got to have this number of followers.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's often the bit that a lot of people find very overwhelming, and it's quite time consuming as well.
Yep.
The great thing about creating a page is once you've done it, it's there. The page just brings in inquiries. Social media is quite, you've got to work on it every day, creating new content all the time. Yeah. And so I'm quite proud that I've been able to do this without using.
Hello? I gotta start recording. Okay,
Yeah,
so you were saying that you're proud that you were able to do so much without social media.
Media. And are you still there?
Yep. Yeah. Now we're back. It keeps going.
Right. If it happens again, I'll go and grab the cable and go to wired connection. But hopefully it won't do that. So yeah. Just saying that I'll be able to get a good number of inquiries purely by SEO without having to use social media. I do plan to use social media to post blog posts when I start doing those. But it's nice to know that it's not been essential for day one. So I think if someone else is listening or watching this and is feeling overwhelmed with all the different things they need to do, then, you don't have to do everything, I think is the key.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's a fantastic lesson.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what would you say to somebody who's thinking about joining the program?
I think if you want to do your own website, and there's a lot of benefits in doing your own website. I mean, just having the control over it, just knowing that anytime you can go in and change it, having that sense of accomplishment of doing it. I think really it's that thing about having the control. You could find the information out possibly elsewhere, but it would be not very structured. There's YouTube videos covering some of this thing. And also the information wouldn't be related to a therapy website. I don't know anybody else out there that's doing what you're doing, Daniel, in terms of focusing on the therapy market.
Hmm.
And a therapy website does have a different structure to other types of
Yeah.
websites. So really, just giving you that structure. You've got the checklist that you can follow, and it's great to be able to tick things off. You'll have the right plugins on your website, the right theme. I think, do you work now with a specific theme now on the course?
Yes, yes. So
Yeah,
you were one of my earlier students. So
that's right.
back in the
Yeah,
day, it was more like let's choose a theme together.
yeah,
But I learned that a lot of people, like, that's one of the biggest decisions is finding a WordPress theme. So now we all
exactly. Yeah,
work with the Divi WordPress theme, and
great. Yeah,
it's
that's
even
good.
more specific now to building pages. So it's very step by step.
Exactly. So that's a huge improvement that wasn't there when I was there. So yeah,
Mhm.
um, so I think, and your decision really is, you either do it yourself or you pay for someone else to do it. And I've seen quite a few, websites from my competitors and new hypnotherapists, and they look very, very standard. The sort of image you see on the homepage is very, very uncreative. Someone with their hands up in the air looking at the sky. It's sort of it's just,
Yeah.
it's just uncreative. I would, yeah. So I think you can have a website then that you can really be proud of, and yeah, and it's worked really well for me. It will require a bit of an investment in time, but it's well worth it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm so excited for you. Excited to see you moving forward and getting traction and just ranking so well. And just, yeah, kudos to you for taking the time and for building a lot of great content for your ideal client. So yeah, congrats on everything, Paul.
Yeah, thank you very much, Daniel.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
All right.
All right. Thank you
Cheers.
so